This past weekend, I went to Retro GameCon in Syracuse, New York, and the Strong Museum of Play in Rochester, New York. So I went out with my friend Matt for the weekend. Before I get into anything that I got over the course of the weekend, Matt collects sports cards. I used to collect sports cards, but not so much anymore. But either way, he has been hoarding some cards for me over the past few months based on the teams that I like. So just to show off a few things that he did give me, he got me a Donruss Optic Romy Gonzalez rookie auto, number 299. I'm a big White Sox fan, so any pieces of White Sox memorabilia or sports cards are very cool to add to the collection, even though I don't collect myself anymore. There was also a Tim Anderson autograph out of Topps Tier 1 from 2021. This one's numbered to 300, so very cool. And the last one that I thought was really, really neat is a PSA 9 Frank Thomas rookie card. So again, White Sox stuff. Frank Thomas is a Hall of Famer. Really cool piece to add. So Matt, thank you very much for adding to my small sports card collection. Well, with that said, I went to Retro GameCon on Sunday, but I went to the Strong Museum of Play on Saturday. So the Strong Museum of Play is located in Rochester, New York. It's this humongous museum, heavily rooted in play, which sounds like it's really childish, but it's more a museum of just all entertainment that you would have had growing up. So there's exhibits for like comic books, there's exhibits for like Sesame Street, exhibits for all sorts of different things. And even though it sounds childish, there's exhibits that even adults can enjoy. I've been going to the Strong Museum ever since I was really little, since we have family in that area. So any opportunity I've ever gotten to go to the Strong Museum, I have taken. But specifically, at Retro GameCon in 2022, the Strong Museum was there to say that they were doing additions to the museum itself. The museum is already humongous, so to do new additions is a big deal. The biggest thing that they added was the World Video Game Hall of Fame. They had already had a Video Game Hall of Fame, but it wasn't this like big exhibit that it is now. They also added another exhibit called Level Up, where you get a wristband and an avatar, and your entire goal is to level up your character by playing mini games that are all different elements of different types of games, which is pretty cool. I would have paid admission just to go to the Hall of Fame part, but the entire museum is absolutely fantastic. So if you're ever in that area, I strongly recommend going to the Strong Museum because it's a fantastic experience through and through. Normally I don't get anything there, but they had this brand spanking new. This is a Strong Museum Monopoly. I don't really collect Monopolies like I do video games, but this is a 2023 Strong Museum Monopoly updated with current exhibits. So this was really cool. It was a lot cheaper than I was expecting it to be, so naturally I had to get it. So now I have another way of playing Monopoly. So that was pretty cool. What else? So then on Sunday, we went to Retro GameCon. So normally it's a whole weekend event, but since we wanted to go to the Strong Museum on Saturday, we decided to do just Retro GameCon on Sunday. So just some things that I got at Retro GameCon, just some of the Retro GameCon merch. The pass is in the style of a Nintendo World Championship cartridge from the NES, which is pretty cool. There was also the program. Program's got this super cool Mega Man design, which I'm absolutely in love with. Another cool thing that I got from Retro GameCon is their limited edition cereal. Just kind of funny. Somebody said, why didn't you buy two so you could eat one and keep the other sealed? That person I have sufficiently influenced to be a collector. So that's pretty cool. And of course, couldn't leave without a shirt. So I also got a Retro GameCon shirt along with that Mega Man style design. So that's really cool, and I can't wait to wear this one. So that's it for the not game stuff, but now it's time to get into the game stuff. So I didn't buy a whole lot at Retro GameCon. Actually, most of my purchases for the weekend came at a store on the way home from Retro GameCon. But the one thing I did get at Retro GameCon was They Bleed Pixels. So They Bleed Pixels is a game published by Premium Edition Games. Premium Edition Games is very similar to like Limited Run, where they do short release of previously digital games or previously unreleased games. So it's a Switch game that was released, I think, a few years ago, but still pretty cool to get a physical release of them. They only have somewhere in the either late 10s or 20s number of Switch releases, so naturally I'm on the path to get all of them. I'm only missing just a few. So I would strongly recommend checking out Premium Edition games if you don't know any of their work. So that was all I bought at Retro GameCon, which definitely isn't a lot. There wasn't a whole lot that I was super interested in. But on the way home, I said, let's stop at this store called Sound Go Round in Vestal, New York, which is kind of just over the border from Pennsylvania. Sound Go Round is a fantastic store. That same thing, if you're ever in that area, definitely go check it out. They have also everything entertainment related: video games, DVDs, VHS tapes, comics, figures, records, you name it, they got it. I didn't even think that they had Pokemon cards there. Not that I collect Pokemon cards, but I happened to see Pokemon cards there, even though I thought they didn't do that. So definitely go check them out too. They were able to cut me a deal on a lot of this stuff because I bought a whole bunch. So we'll just get through it. So the first thing I'm going to show is Abzu. It may be a little hard to tell because it's in its original packaging by Super Rare Games. So a lot like Premium Edition, a lot like Limited Run. Super Rare also does limited releases of games. Abzu is a underwater adventure game that is very, very beautiful. This specific release, Super Rare, is based in Europe, so this is technically a PAL release, even though it does work on the Switch in North America. But we didn't get a Switch release here in North America for Abzu. We got a PS4 release in North America for Abzu, but not a Switch one. Naturally, I will collect Switch games before I collect PS4 games, so had to get this one. It was a really, really good price, so I had to pick it up, and I'm glad I finally got this because I was looking at it for a long time. Next, moving back to the Wii, I got Metroid Prime Trilogy. So Metroid Prime Trilogy was at one point way more expensive than what it is now, right before the whole boom of getting Metroid Prime 4 and Metroid Prime Remastered on the Switch. Not that we've gotten Metroid Prime 4, but everybody wants Metroid Prime 4, so naturally the trilogy goes up while we wait. And this one came out on the Wii, and it has Metroid Prime 1 and 2 from the GameCube, Metroid Prime 3 from the Wii, which I do also have, but just a cool collector's edition to get. It was also a really good price, so I picked it up, and it's something I was looking at for a long time, but it was so expensive for a while that I wasn't able to find it when it was expensive. Now that it's gone down, it's a little bit more accessible to get, so really glad I got this too. The next games can go hand in hand, and they would be Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So this is kind of an interesting release because it doesn't seem like they would be interesting as just Harry Potter games. But Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the original game, was released on PS1, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and PC in 2001, right around when the first movie came out. So that was 2001, but these games were released in 2003. By the time that these two versions, the PS2 and GameCube versions, released, we were already on Chamber of Secrets, which is the second book and movie in the Harry Potter franchise. So by the time these games came out, we weren't super interested in playing the first game anymore because we wanted to play the second game. But even beyond that, these were released in late 2003, where it was only about 5 more months until Prisoner of Azkaban, the third book and movie, would release. So nobody was really talking about Sorcerer's Stone at that time. So naturally, these games did not sell well because they were considered things of the past at the time. So these games didn't sell well and became some of the most expensive Harry Potter games that are currently on the market. So it is cool to get both. I saw both of them at Sound Go Round, so I was like, well, if I get one, I might as well get both. Little pricey, but very cool to get nonetheless, and I'm glad I was able to get both. So only one more video game in this episode. It was a pretty decent mix of video games and non-video games things for the weekend. But the last video game that I got is Super Mario Bros. Deluxe for the Game Boy Color. So Super Mario Bros. Deluxe is, believe it or not, Super Mario Bros. But it's the first time that the game was remade. The original game was remade for a handheld system. So original Super Mario Bros. Released in 1985, and Super Mario Bros. Deluxe was released 14 years later on the Game Boy Color. The game is slightly updated in terms of graphics, but the game is mostly the same. One big critique of Super Mario Bros. Deluxe is that obviously when you're playing on an NES, the original game, it's a wider screen, but on a Game Boy Color, it's more like a square boxed screen. So it kind of shrinks things down a little bit. So that's kind of one critique of it. But at the time, it would have been the best way of playing Super Mario Bros., at least on the go. So it's a game I had been looking for because it's a Mario game, and finally came across it for a decent price. So for all the games, thank you so much, Sound Go Round. And like I said, I strongly recommend going to check them out if you have the opportunity to. But those were not the only things I bought over the weekend. At Sound Go Round, I also bought a few DVDs. Here they are. First one is Shrek 2 on DVD. It's Shrek 2. It's fantastic. The next one is Shrek 2 on DVD. It's Shrek 2. It's fantastic. The next one is Shrek 2 on DVD. And it's Shrek 2. It's fantastic. The next one is a little different. It is Shrek 2 on DVD, but this one in a slipcover. So it's Shrek 2, which is already fantastic, but in a slipcover, that's even more fantastic. And the last one, I swear, is different. I swear. But it is Shrek 2 on DVD. It's Shrek 2. It's fantastic. But this one is very special. You might have noticed that all the other ones were black cases. This one has a white case. Due in part by the fact that this is a Canadian release. It's got the Canadian leaf at the bottom, and the serial code has the C at the end. So we have Canadian Shrek 2. That's very fantastic. And the very last thing I bought for the weekend is easily the coolest thing that I bought over that weekend. And I bought a kazoo.